theory of no contact with a narcissist is deceivingly simple, but when you truly understand what's going on in the narcissist's mind and what they have done to your mind at this point, you'll quickly realize that for almost every 99.9% of narcissists, no contact is the best solution, and it's possibly the only solution to have the best outcome with this person. Going no contact with a narcissist involves understanding the dynamics of relationships and the psychological processes at play. Why have we gotten to the point that our only solution is to stop contacting this person? At times, we can be an emotionally sound, healthy person, but towards the end of the relationship, we can become disordered. We can leave the relationship traumatized. We can develop forms of PTSD because we have been dealing with someone who is not seeing reality in a healthy manner. Narcissists have a dysfunctional sense of self, and their ability to form and maintain relationships has been affected by their early experiences with significant others, primarily their caregivers. When we've gotten to the point where we are in no contact with the narcissist, either because they abandoned us or we had to abandon them, when any relationship with any type of person, narcissist or not, if it's gone to the point where we've come to the conclusion that staying away from this person is better than being with this person, it's very obvious that our separating ourselves from the situation is a positive thing, especially once we go no contact and we realize that our life is getting better. And because if you're really dealing with a narcissist, you're going to see that things are going to get better. You're going to become more emotionally healthy. You're not going to experience all of that stress that the narcissist put you through. But because we've been dealing with a toxic person, when we leave the relationship, our emotions, our life is completely out of control and dysregulated, and we cannot clearly see that being away from this person is actually beneficial. And people typically go back to the narcissist after no contact because of the dynamics at play, because they have conditioned us to need them, because it was such a dysfunctional a relationship full of highs and lows that has conditioned us to need them for our happiness. It's conditioned us. They have become our source of happiness and our source of distress. And because of several factors at play, because in all honesty, sometimes we get into relationships with people like this because we are dysfunctional ourselves. Yes, sometimes healthy people get into relationships with narcissists. But even those people, if they've been with them long enough, if the narcissist has put them through, things that they have deemed traumatizing, they can then become a emotionally unhealthy person. That healthy person can develop a personality disorder of their own because now they have gone through a traumatizing event, and their entire body, their entire nervous system, their mind has been thrown off, and now they've been conditioned to the toxicity of this environment. And because it's such an intense experience, we can't find it anywhere else. It's not an experience that's very common. So when we go to a healthy relationship, when we're in no contact, we go to a healthy relationship, we try to move away from the narcissist, from this toxic person. Everything else seems not as it doesn't seem as good because it's not as intense. It's not giving us those high lows and high highs that the narcissist would give us. And we confuse that for boredom. We confuse that for this person being weird or just, dysfunctional. But in reality, they are actually a normal person. But because we have been conditioned to toxic behavior, we run back to the narcissist. In the context of going no contact with a narcissist, it is important to consider two key concepts: the narcissist's internal objects and the individual's internal objects. This is a very important thing to understand to maintain the no contact, to understand why it's in your best interest not to contact this person. The narcissist it's a very complicated disorder when you have no idea what's going on, and especially if you've gone to this point where they've discarded you or you're running away from them and you're in a state of distress and you're not seeing reality in a very clear way. Your emotions have gotten the best of you. It's happened to me. It's happened to countless people. It's nothing to be ashamed of. People, when they go through this experience, it they feel a lot of guilt and shame because, how could I be so foolish? How could I be this and that? But because you are a genuine normal person like most people, you invested your emotions into a person who is just quite honestly and just realistically disordered. And that's because their internal objects, the way they perceive reality, is polarized, it's disordered. So when the narcissist sees you, they internalize you just like everyone else. You meet someone, right? And it's called like a first impression. And either they see you as a good person or a bad person, good supply, bad supply. And they internalize that. That's why in the beginning they saw you as this perfect idealized person and a perfect idealized internal object. But because of the way they were raised, because of their early conditioning, they see people in a very black and white way. They internalize people in extremes. Normally, people will look at someone and say, well, yeah, this person has a lot of good qualities, but they obviously have bad qualities, and we don't necessarily, and we all go through periods of falling in love with people, right? We think bad poorly of people who actually are good people or just neutral people. But the narcissist goes, they'll yell at people, they'll then love them the next minute because their thought patterns and the way they perceive reality is very disordered. And when they internalize that concept of you in the beginning, they idealize you. They saw you as this perfect person, but slowly over time, because you're a human being, because you have flaws, you started to make what they perceived as like very harsh mistakes. And slowly but surely, that switch flipped inside their mind, and now they're starting to see you as a bad object. And because they don't have the capacity, like a healthy person, to see that sometimes people mess up, sometimes, no one is a robot, no one is perfect, they basically do not, they take their emotions as truths. And as we know, sometimes people can say things to us that hurt our feelings, but it's not intentional. It wasn't said in, it wasn't said with the intention to hurt us, or maybe we're just perceiving it in a manner that is not actually what they intended to do. But the narcissist can't conceptualize this. They now paint you as all black. You are now bad. You have gone from their positive white thinking, and now they have to discard you. They have to go no contact with you because in their minds you can either be a good source of supply or a bad source of supply. Internal objects refer to mental representations or images of other people that individuals form based on their early experiences. These internal objects influence how individuals perceive and interact with others in their adult relationships. By now, it should be making sense why you can't rationalize with this person, why no matter you showing them evidence, no matter you showing them kindness, they continue to devalue you. They continue to treat you like garbage because something has flipped in their mind. And this is especially, people who have dealt with a narcissist who have just been the perfect partner, they've never made really a mistake. They still get thrown away by the narcissist because the narcissist cycles through these patterns of idealization, devaluing, discarding. Narcissist doesn't have a constant state of personality, and they're always going to fluctuate these ups and downs. And this is why you can't take it personally when they discard you or even when they idealize you. They're not really seeing you for who you are. They're just making a mental representation of you in their mind, and it's not based in reality. It's just based in their fantasy of how they perceive you. When dealing with a narcissist, their internal objects are often distorted and maladaptive. They tend to view others as either idealized and perfect, known as the narcissistic supply, or devalued and worthless. This dichotomy is a defense mechanism to protect their fragile self esteem. Narcissists typically need constant admiration and validation from others to maintain their grandiose self image. So this is what's going on here. They use other people to regulate their emotions. That's why they step out on the relationship. That's why when they get to that point of devaluing you, they start treating you poorly because they can't regulate themselves through you. They now are experiencing negative emotions from you. And just like anyone else, when you interact with anybody and the experience is negative, you're not going to want to be around that person. But you are a normal person. You're not going to yell and abuse that person like a narcissist would. You would just distance yourself from that person and separate amicably. You're not going to, discard them in this brutal fashion like the narcissist would. On the other hand, the individual interacting with the narcissist also forms internal objects based on their experiences with the narcissistic individual. These internal objects may include feelings of worthlessness, inadequacy, or constant disappointment due to the narcissist's manipulative and self centered behavior. The individual may find themselves trapped in a cycle of seeking validation from the narcissist and constantly being let down. Again, a person can enter this relationship pretty normal, healthy person, but through the experiences, just like anybody who's been through a traumatic, damaging experience, you're going to be conditioned to a certain level of emotions, to a certain pattern of thinking. And this happens in all sorts of relationships. You'll notice that when you hang out with someone who is very outgoing and positive and happy, you kind of take on their emotions. As human beings, we can sometimes absorb the energies and the feelings of other people. It's just the human condition. And you see it in yourself when you have a friend group and you start using their vocabulary and their lingo. You start, kind of, when you're with a sad, depressed person and you're trying to console them and help them, you kind of get sad yourself. It's called empathy. It's something the narcissist isn't capable of. They aren't capable of putting themselves in other people's shoes, because in a lot of ways they are not even inside of their own shoes, so to speak. They are not even processing their own emotions and perceptions properly. They are not going to be able to do something even further beyond that and put themselves through the lens of your perception, through your point of view. So because we've been dealing with this very disorganized and very dysfunctional person, we have now taken on their qualities. And also, on top of that, they have been abusing you. They have been conditioning you to feel worthless and inadequate and they've conditioned you to just for disappointment. They've conditioned you to think that this is how things are. This person that loves me, I guess, hurts me sometimes, but that is not how it goes. We have been traumatized into a pattern of thinking, into a certain situation, and this is why no contact is so important. You have to walk away from the situation and let your nervous system, let your mind, let everything regulate itself again away from this person, so you can think clearly again, not let all these emotions that the narcissist is putting you through cloud your judgment. Going no contact with the narcissist involves recognizing the detrimental impact of the narcissist's distorted internal objects on one's own internal objects. It means understanding that continued interaction with a narcissist reinforces negative self perceptions and perpetuates a dysfunctional relationship pattern. It's only through no contact that we can step away and see the difference that we aren't being yelled at, we aren't being treated like garbage. And when we're in that situation, we tend to dissociate, we become numb, and we start to think that this behavior is okay, because in a sense it's never okay for people to abuse you, but in a sense, we think it's okay because it's just become our reality. It happens in all types of horrific situations. When people go to war and there's bombs going off and there's just horrific things going on, people become numb to it. That's just the human condition. It's anything, whether it's when you drink coffee, that's why the next day it doesn't feel as strong. The body learns how to reach homeostasis. And because we've been with this person and because we've just been dealing with such high level toxic behavior, it's become our normal, unfortunately. And the only way to get away from it and see that it's having a huge impact on us is to go no contact, separate from this person, and truly see that they go to therapy and they do all the things right. At the end of the day, they're always going to be a disordered person. And even if they become even better than like any relationship you've ever had, you're still going to have the memories of all the times they did those awful things to you, and it's always going to sit in the back of your mind. It's a sad realization to come to, but even if this narcissist can change and be like the 0.1% that heals and treats you right, they're always going to be that person that put you through trauma, that hurt you, that told you you're worthless, that put you through a traumatic experience. By choosing to go no contact, individuals can start to break free from the influence of the narcissist's internal objects. This allows them to begin their process of healing and reevaluating their own internal objects, developing a healthier sense of self and establishing boundaries that protect their well being. Whether you choose to continue this relationship later on is up to you. You are a grown adult and you know what's best for you. Some people can never really break this cycle. While I hope everyone heals and does what's best for them, your life path is your life path. And but you must understand that you're always going to go back to them. You're always going to be stuck in these cycles with either that narcissist or other toxic people until you take a long, hard look at your own internal objects, how you view yourself, how you interact with others, and how other people interact with you. That is the basis of all human interaction in a sense. How you perceive yourself is how you interact with the world, and how other people perceive themselves is how they interact with the world. And what's happened here with the narcissist is that you went into it very likely just a normal healthy person, but because they do not have that basic thing that we all have, our perception of ourselves, they have a very polarized, distorted sense of it. One minute they're happy, one minute they love you, one minute they hate you. And as soon as you realize that, you'll understand that unless they're willing to accept that, unless they're willing to take a hard look at themselves and understand their own cognitive processes, which is very hard. It's very hard even for a normal, emotionally healthy person to look at their ego and look at their personality and say, well, these are some of the faults of my personality, and these are some of the good things about my personality, especially with the grandiosity with the narcissist when they believe that they, because of the way they were raised, because they had to create this grandiose image of themselves, they believe that they're perfect just the way they are. And that goes to show just how disordered they are, because they know they're not a schizophrenic. They have a disordered mind, but they still have a basis in reality. It's not as strong as an emotionally healthy person's is, but they know they're doing bad things. But at the same time, they'll flip that switch and say, "But yeah, I hurt those people. Yeah, I stole that money. Yeah, I put my hands on that person. But I'm amazing." And in saying that, hopefully that snaps you into reality and just shows you how disordered that person's mind is. And in closing, that's just really what you have to do. If go no contact, and if you really feel like you need to, go back to them. And if they're not willing to accept these faults in their personality, then it's very obvious that you either accept who they are or you walk away from them. It's really that simple at the end of the day.